welcome back to the Sedona International Film Festival. This is our silver anniversary, and we're coming to you live from the Sedona Rouge Hotel, which is one of our sponsors, along with Black Magic Design and Digitech. And we are so excited to be here for the film festival, and I'd like to introduce Rena. And you are back here for the second time, which I'm so excited to see you again and hear about your film, Pagg.
Thank you.
Yes.
Thank you. I'm pretty excited to be here representing the project as a consulting producer.
Well, I can't wait, and I believe we have a trailer, so I want to see a little bit about it so we can talk about it. So,
Excellent.
yeah. And also, so pretty much it's silent as far as people just having nonverbal communication on a train. So talk to me a little bit about that.
Yeah, so the story is written actually by our leading actor, Nardeep Khurmi, and he's also directing the project. So it's about microaggressions after the most recent election, where a lot of immigrant populations have been under attack in very subconscious ways. In their respective communities. There have been a number of, shootings of South Asian Americans and Middle Eastern Americans, the immigrant populations that have been in the country since our last election. So he really wanted to explore this idea of microaggressions and the human experience and fear of the other. And in this case, it's about immigrants. Yeah.
And where was this shot? Was it shot in New York?
Yeah.
So something being shot in New York, which is a melting pot of all cultures.
Yeah.
It's really difficult to believe, like even in this time and age, and even, we're talking about the political overtones already with what's happening in this, presidential election, that like we're still fighting this kind of thing, that people just aren't melding together like we would hope that they would be.
Yeah, I think there have been a lot of questions that have been put to us by our current presidency, and we're exploring that idea. The number of hate crimes that have happened since the election are insane, pretty insane. It's exponentially risen since the election, and so we just wanted to talk about the idea that we talk about these big cities where there is a melting pot. And we don't talk about the microaggressions that happen in those places as well. We keep talking about all our states in between, where there aren't a lot of immigration. There's not a lot of immigrant populations like in the middle of America. There are, but it's not to the extent of New York City. So we really wanted to talk about how it's not a flyover state thing, and I hate using that, but because America has everything's wonderful about this place, nothing's a flyover state, but. We really wanted to show that even in a melting pot, these things still happen. This is not something that happens in small suburban towns. It happens everywhere.
Right. Well, it seems like, the last film that we just talked with you about earlier today and this particular film are all dealing with social issues. Is that something, obviously it is, but is it something that's really important to you that you want to try to communicate to people, and why is that?
Yes. Yeah, I never intended for this to be the kind of work I do. I never intended to sit down and say, I'm going to be activist with all the art that I make. But somehow there's always some subconscious thing that leaks into everything that I've produced, everything that I've directed. Currently I'm working on a piece about women's reproductive rights in 1969. And so it's things are just coming to me based on, I like activism, and I like talking about things that matter. So it leaks into all my work somehow.
Do you think activism has changed over time? Like, years ago, like we would see things like Norma Ray and like all those kinds of things, and people like really stood up and really spoke out about an issue, and typically it was always like a single person really that did that, and you don't really see that as much anymore. So do you find that in really what you're trying to accomplish?
Maybe. These are really good questions. Maybe, I don't know. I always dreamt of being 19 in 1969. That was what I wanted. I feel like I was born way too late. I would have been in San Francisco or New York fighting the fight with a bunch of people who are willing to risk their lives to say something. And I think now that we have social media, the younger generation has such a handle on being honest and speaking out about issues and cause on social media. There's like this beautiful thing about social media, and there's this awful thing about it. And when it's used for the greater good, it's incredible.
Yeah, and I don't want to use the term millennials. Like, I don't really like using that term, but it seems like somewhere in the middle, people just kind of disassociated with things and really didn't speak up a whole lot. And sometimes I feel like that's like we're in this lull period like that. But because of what's happening, I think people are becoming a little bit more vocal with what they want to say. But I also feel like that it's coming more so much from millennials who are saying, no, we're going to speak up about this.
Yeah, I feel like we've all had role models of some sort from generations before us, and now they're kind of there's this weird historical twist that's happening. Instead of being physically in the place fighting and having bullets shot at you or whatever it is that people used to do and used to be willing to do, it's happening with words, and it's happening in work. Filmmaking, like Black Klansman, all these movies that are coming out have such a commitment to talking about activism in some capacity.
Right.
And that's incredible to me because it's a non-aggressive way to talk about things. So it's coming back full circle in very strange, modern ways.
You've talked about a mentor. Do you particularly have like a mentor that you look to?
Yeah, I have a ton of mentors that I look to. I had done a fellowship up in San Francisco in 2016, and at that time I was actually introduced to my executive producer, Penelope Wong, which was for the other project that I have here. And she introduced me to a bunch of other women in their 60s and 70s, San Francisco ladies, who are all very vocal, amazing amounts of authenticity and integrity with what they do and what they say and what they support, and that is so meaningful to me right now. Yeah.
Do you find, and you're just talking about like flyovers and everything like that, but do you find that there's actually pockets of the country where people are willing to take the risk? I mean, you're going to see it in Hollywood. I mean, that's just carte blanche that's going to happen. So do you find that there's other places within the country and doing what you're doing that people are becoming a little bit more vocal about it?
Yeah, 100%. 100%. I mean, the number of marches that happen for immigration policy all over the country, it's been happening. The number of neighbors that are now standing up for their immigrant neighbors and saying, hey guys, they're not the other, they're our family, our neighbors, this is our community. And I think there's pockets of that happening across the nation, but we're so polarized that it's either you're absolutely supporting it or you're absolutely not. And so I find that as in a very real way. My mother lives in Chandler, and she came here in the 60s, and her neighbors are very conservative, not multi-ethnic, very conservative, a very conservative couple. But they have looked out for her on so many levels, amazing people that just have her back. And, you hear people saying, oh, well, in the middle of America, isn't she feeling not safe? And no, she feels great because she has that community of people. She goes line dancing, and she wears her vest and her boots. And her entire community of line dancing people are just there for her. They all travel together and everything. But, I don't know that... I think all it takes is a conversation to humanize and find friendship. And so that happens every day. It's just a matter of saying, hi, how are you, to a stranger. So I do think that people are standing up more across the nation, but it's very hard to have positive lights when there's so much negativity happening at the same time.
Right.
Yeah.
Well, I'm really glad that you're here with us. And when is this particular film being shown?
It's screening on Wednesday and Saturday. Yeah. It's pretty exciting. We're pretty excited about this fest.
Awesome. And is there a website that goes along with it?
We have an email address, and it's pug.film@gmail.com.
Okay, well, great. Thank you so much for being with us.
Thank you.
I can't wait to see this particular film. I know you have 2. I think that's amazing, and I applaud you for that.
Thank you.
So good luck with
you.
it, and I know we'll be seeing more of you, so thanks so much.
Thank you. This has been great.
Good. And we'll be back with more from the Sedona International Film Festival right after this.